The rain had been falling for hours, soft but relentless, washing the glass walls of the towering building where hearts often felt colder than the steel they worked among. Inside, beneath polished marble floors and silent elevators, a man pushed a cleaning cart down the empty hallway. His uniform was faded, his shoes worn out, but his eyes held a quiet strength. His name was Aaron Miller, and while most people barely noticed him, he noticed everything. The exhaustion in others, the hurried footsteps, the loneliness hidden behind success. What no one knew, not even the payroll department, was that every month half of Aaron's modest paycheck vanished into envelopes marked for an orphanage across town. It wasn't a tax deduction or charity stunt. It was his promise to the children he once called family. If you believe that kindness still matters, that people can rise through compassion and grace, then pause for a moment. Like, comment, share, and subscribe to Gracefulness Empathy. Because stories like this remind us that the smallest hearts often carry the greatest strength. Aaron was a single dad.
Hey, can I ask you both something?
Girl named
It's about
Lily, a bright-eyed 7-year-old with curly hair and a smile
Hey, can I ask you both something?
the morning
It's
sun.
about.
His life revolved around her, packing her lunch before dawn, walking her to school, then taking the bus to the tall glass building where he cleaned offices that smelled of money and ambition. He had no complaints, no regrets. Every time Lily asked, "Daddy, why do you send money to those children when we don't have much?" he would smile and say, "Because once someone did that for me. The orphanage he donated to had saved him as a boy, fed him when no one else would, and given him hope to one day build a life worth living." Now, even when he could barely afford a new pair of shoes, he kept his promise. At the top of that same building, Madison Carter, the CEO,
Hey, can I ask you both
contrasts.
something? It's about.
Her name carried weight.
Of course, what is it?
Powerful, elegant, and often feared. She had built her empire with precision and intellect, but somewhere along the way, compassion had turned into numbers and humanity into strategy. To most employees, she was untouchable, gliding through boardrooms with a gaze sharp enough to cut silence in half. Yet behind that glass office door, she was haunted by the emptiness that success had returned. Her wealth couldn't buy the one thing she lost her sense of belonging. Their
Hey, can I
worlds
ask you both
collided
something?
one grey
It's
morning
about.
when Madison
Of course, what is
arrived
it?
unusually early. The building was quiet, except for the faint hum of a vacuum cleaner echoing down the hall. As she turned the
Hey,
corner,
can I ask you both
she saw
something?
Aaron kneeling
It's
by the
about.
reception area.
Of course, what
gently
is it?
scrubbing a coffee stain someone had left behind. There was something about his focus, the calmness in his movements that made her stop. She noticed his tired eyes, the slight limp in his walk, and the photo of a little girl taped inside his cleaning cart. Over the next few weeks, she found herself
Hey,
crossing
can I ask you
paths
both
with
something?
him more often.
It's
Not
about.
intentionally,
Of course,
she told
what is it?
herself, but curiosity had a strange pull. One evening, while walking out, she saw him standing outside the security office, handing an envelope to a nun. He bowed slightly, embarrassed as the nun thanked him. Madison frowned. It wasn't payday. Why was a janitor giving money away? Later, her curiosity turned into quiet investigation. She asked her assistant to pull the janitorial payment records.
Hey, can I ask you both something?
She'd never done
It's
before.
about.
When the
course,
report
what is it?
arrived, she was stunned. Aaron's
Hey, can I
salary
ask you
was
both
meager,
something?
Yet
It's
every
about.
single month,
Of course,
a
what is
large
it?
portion of it was missing, sent directly to a local orphanage. The assistant explained that Aaron had set up an automatic transfer years ago, never mentioning it to anyone. Madison couldn't believe it. How did Paycheck gone willingly? He stared at the fire, a strange heaviness pressing on her chest. That evening, she couldn't shake the thought. While she sipped her imported coffee in her penthouse overlooking the city, she saw Aaron's tired hands in her mind, scrubbing floors so those children could eat. The contrast hit her harder than any business loss ever could. She, who had everything, had forgotten how to give. He, who had nothing, gave everything he could. The next morning, Madison drove across town to find the orphanage listed in Aaron's records. It wasn't a grand place, just a small building with peeling paint, laughter echoing through the cracks of worn windows. The nun she met was the same one Aaron had given the envelope to. "Ah, Mr. Miller," the sister said warmly. "He's been helping us for years. Always comes quietly, never asks for anything. Says it's his way of thanking God for giving him a second chance." Madison felt her throat tighten. For the first time in years, she couldn't hold back her tears. Back at the office, she called Aaron in. He looked nervous, clutching his cap, certain he'd done something wrong. She looked at him for a long moment before speaking. "Why do you do it?" she finally asked softly. Aaron hesitated, unsure if he should answer. Then quietly he said, "Because I know what it's like to be hungry, ma'am. Because I can't forget the faces of the kids who are still waiting for help. And because my little girl should grow up knowing that kindness means more than comfort." Madison felt something shift deep inside her. That night, she went home and looked at her own reflection, the woman who had conquered the world, yet somehow lost touch with her heart. She decided it was time to change that. The following week, Madison announced a new foundation under the company's name, one that would support underprivileged children and single and parents working hard to survive. She named it the Miller Promise Fund. When the news reached Aaron, he couldn't believe it. His hands trembled as Madison approached him during a company meeting, thanking him publicly for reminding her, and everyone, what true wealth meant. But it didn't stop there. Madison personally visited the orphanage again, bringing supplies, funding repairs, and ensuring the children had new clothes and food for the year. When she walked into that small room full of laughter and light, she found Aaron already there, sweeping the floor as always. She smiled and said, "You've done more for this world than you'll ever know." He smiled back shyly and whispered, "We just do what we can, ma'am." From that day forward, Madison changed how she led, not just as a CEO, but as a human being. She spent more time listening, more time helping, more time feeling, and every time she saw Aaron in the hallway, she didn't just see a janitor. She saw a teacher, a reminder that compassion is the truest form of leadership. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Gracefulness Empathy. Your support helps spread real stories of love, redemption, and humanity in a world that desperately needs them.